What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Far Rock 22, aka Infamous Owen, infamous underscore Owen on IG. It's not going to be a long video today, but I watched a video or a clip on Instagram not too long ago, right? And it was from September 11th. It was a helicopter over one of the World Trade Centers as it was burning. And, in the background it showed one of the buildings collapsing. Now, I don't know why it came up on my feed, but it reminded me of that day. And I think anyone who was alive around that time, and I'm not talking about born around that time, so this is not to you young cats, you people, so y'all have no opinion in this. For real. This is not a shot at y'all, but you have no opinion in this. But anyone who can remember September 11th, I think that's a day that you will never forget. I think anyone who was old enough to remember, they could remember exactly what they were doing around that time. And I say this, man, I remember my brother, he was supposed to come home from jail that day. He was supposed to come home from Rikers Island. He just finished doing a 6-5 split. And his court date was September 11th. They were going to calculate his time, and he was going to be out of there. And I stayed home from school that day. And I remember my sister-in-law, she was on the phone, and she asked, she's like, what are you doing? What are you doing home? I was like, yo, I'm going to court day. He comes home today. And you know what? And this is how I remember it. She says, the courts are closed. I'm like, what are you talking about? She says, one of the World Trade Center buildings is on fire. I think a plane crashed into it and they closed the courts. I said, what does a building on fire got to do with my brother going to court? This doesn't make any sense. But mind you, I'm on the house phone. So, getting call waiting, things is going off the hook. My aunt calling my mother. So, it was like, I was confused. So when I turned on the TV, I turned it on just in time to see that second plane hit the tower. Like, I didn't know what was going on. It was just like, oh, what just happened? And then the announcer, oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, a second building flew into the South Tower or North Tower, whatever. And, I believe we're under a terrorist attack. We just found out that several planes been hijacked all over, and one is going towards the Pentagon. I'm like, it was unbelievable. But when it was all said and done, when the buildings fell, you know what I'm saying? And, I'm talking about the two main ones, when those fell. Because the third one fell like later in the afternoon. And that's crazy when I found out about that. Because I used to go to school on the Lower East Side before I transferred to Hillcrest. So I transferred to Hillcrest in spring of 2001. The buildings fell fall of 2001, of course. It was September 11th, still kind of summertime-ish. But so I still had a good connection with the people that I went to school with. So I was very concerned when the buildings were falling, what was going on, because when I went to school on the Lower East Side, it wasn't too far from, the World Trade Center. In fact, you can see the World Trade Center clear as day. It was probably maybe about a mile away, more or less. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't far from the Lower East Side. But it was far enough or close enough to hear those planes hit the building. And it was close enough to feel the floor shake when those buildings were falling. And that's what I was asking some of my peers that were there, when that happened. Because I'm like, yo, what was it like, And my homeboy, he was like, man, I thought we was going to die out there. So I can't imagine me being out there. And then I live in Far Rockaway, so I know if I didn't spend the night at somebody's house, I'd have had to walk all the way back to Far Rockaway or walk over one of them bridges, because they closed all the bridges. They closed all the tunnels. You know what I mean? Nothing wasn't driving into Manhattan unless you was an emergency service. And I never forget, man, I remember walking through Rockaway. It was very serene. It felt like a Sunday morning that day when I was in Rockaway. You didn't see no police. There's barely anyone outside. And you didn't see no firemen. Like, it was just a warm day. and it was very quiet. It was very quiet. It's like no violence. People wasn't wilding out, because most hoods, you would think, oh, a lot of the police ain't here. People going to act crazy. People was very humble that day. And all over the country it was scary for a lot of people, especially in big cities. I spoke to some people from LA, spoke to some people who was in Chicago, and they was telling me, man, they locked it down, and I'm quite sure in DC they locked it down. All the big cities, any places where landmarks was on lock. So I don't know, man. And every year it comes up, it's like, I remember that day. And anybody who was alive or of age, they're going to remember that day. So I don't know, man. What do you remember about September 11th? What city are you from? And what was it like being in that city if it wasn't New York? What was it like being in this city or your town around September 11th? Did they lock the schools down? Did your parents have to come get you? What was going on? Because I didn't go to school. Like I said, I had to go to my brother's court date. So from what I was hearing, some of the parents had to come to school to go and come get the kids. They wanted to get them before dismissal. And my school is Hillcrest was very had a lot of ethnicities in there, especially Indian, East Indian. So I hear that the ones that came to school that day had an issue because a lot of people didn't come to school that day. We could get into it, but a lot of people did not come to school. A lot of people didn't go to the city that day. A lot of people didn't go to work in the city that day. So somebody knew something, but it was chaos all over. So let me know, what was it like in your city? What was it like in your school? What was it like in your town during September 11th and a little bit after September 11th? Because even after September 11th, even after that day, there was a change in attitude with everyone. It was like a patriotic thing. It was a hate towards Middle Eastern people for some, because we grew up in the neighborhoods. We shared neighborhoods with the Muslims and Middle Eastern people, so it wasn't like we hated them. We just ain't know what was going on. And we know the guys in our neighborhoods ain't do it. But the way America was showing out their ass, y'all hated Muslims. And we ain't talking about my America. I'm talking about the other America. And they blatantly used to say hateful things about Muslims and Arabic people and things like that. So let me know once again, what was it like in your city? What was it like in your town? What was it like, during that time? Let me know. Peace out.